And welcome to Unscripted. I am your host, Bill Butts. Now, today, we brought a little while back, we actually brought in, a couple of teachers, and we're trying to figure out, when it comes to the staff here at Johnson County Community College, of course, what do they do? And let alone get on the fact that who are they really? I mean, because face it, you might have a teacher, might be someone, a faculty member you've seen, and you've probably spoken to them, but, there's some interesting people out there. I mean, who knew the astronomy teacher was actually a racer? Beat that. And with us today, we're actually going to bring in the one and only, the head of the entire gym, the Joe Wise. Joe, how you doing today, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I may have just stated your title right there, but can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what it is you really do here at Johnson County Community College?
My specific title is Professor, Director of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Wellness. So I am in charge of all of the classes that have to do with health, physical education, recreation, wellness, and those all include the Lifetime, or my position includes the Lifetime Fitness Center as a center. So when you say I'm in charge of the gym, in the gym we have the athletic department and we have the HPER department. So we share the facilities. Jim Dice is in charge of the facilities. I'm in charge of the specific pieces of the facility when classes are in session. When there are no classes in those, then it kind of goes back to the facility coordinator. So I'm in charge of all of the classes and the Lifetime Fitness Center.
So what you're saying is you're kind of a big deal.
No. I am a professor. I've been at Johnson County for 12 years, or in May I will have completed 12 years. I started out as the head track and field coach. I was the head track and field coach for 6 years. During that time, I had a dual position. I was professor for 50% of my contract, and then I was the head track and field coach for 50% of my contract.
That's cool.
When Dr. Calloway reorganized the school, all of the people that had those positions had the choice to either go all coaching or all teaching. I was one of those who decided to go all teaching.
Okay.
So at that time, I became just the head. My teaching load was running the Lifetime Fitness Center and all of the students that came through the facility. 6 months after, or one semester after doing that, our assistant dean, Dave Burgess, was, the way I describe it, was handpicked by Dr. Calloway to move over into the foundation office. When he moved over into the foundation office, he took his salary with him. So there was no leadership of the HPER department and no salary to hire somebody to lead the HPER department. At that time, there were 6 full-time faculty members. All 6 of us were asked, would you like to do it? And I was the only one that said, yes, I'd like to talk about it. So we discussed it. And I eventually, through some negotiations, trying to figure out how the fitness center would be protected and honored and run with one less layer of administration over the fitness center. When that was all decided, then I said, yes, I would be the director. I've always wanted to keep my faculty status. I want the ability to go back into the classroom and teach if the school reorganized again and said that they wanted a full-time administrator in the position rather than a faculty member in the position. So it's been a very interesting dynamic. Never set out to be the director of a health, physical education, and recreation department. The door just opened, the opportunity was there, and I was willing and able to say yes to it. So it's been a very interesting 5.5 years since then in being the director.
Well, it's apparent that God wanted you to succeed, sir.
I hope so. I would like to believe that, yes.
By the way, thank you for that. Every morning, 7 o'clock, working on my cosplay. But
Okay.
on a note there, I want to go back a little bit, kind of touch on something you mentioned it a little way back there. Track and field coach. So, does that mean,
Yes.
say, you ran track and field guy growing up, or were you a sprinter?
I was a half miler.
What?
So the half mile is that one event between sprinting and beginning distance running. I should have been a miler, but I never quite made the transition up to the mile. Wasn't fast enough to run a world-class 800 meters, but never made the transition to the mile. Running, I describe it as a former life. I quit running when I was 23 and a half. We're getting really young with that. Before I quit running, running wasn't what I did. It was who I was. It was my identity. I started running at 5 years old because my father was a track and field coach. And at 5 years old, I wanted to be
The Flash?
I wanted to be just like my father.
Oh, that's cool.
My father was involved in track and field, so thus I became involved in track and field. And when I was running, I could then spend time with Daddy through that. So my life from 5 up to 23, running was who I was. And it was my identity. And I showed you the picture in my office, right?
Yep.
The 140-pound me, trying to be very, very elite. I had goals upon goals upon goals that we discussed earlier before the interview started about being rich and famous. And I thought I was going to run in the Olympics, break world records, and that everybody would know my name. As I get older, I realized that only the people who care about track and field would know my name. So not everybody in the world would know my name, but I figured that would be my, the sponsorships and making money and things like that. Obviously, that didn't work out, but through my running, I was state cross country champion in high school.
Nice.
And then my claim to fame is that I was 2-time Big 8 champion in the 1,000-meter run indoors. And I ran at Oklahoma State for my father at Oklahoma State. So that was a little bit of a different dynamic. Graduated from Oklahoma State. I am a cowboy. If you cut me, I bleed orange. The saying goes, just like in Kansas, it's K-State against KU. In Oklahoma, it's Oklahoma State versus OU. So OU is crimson and cream or red and white or whatever their colors are specifically. So if you cut me, I bleed orange. So the saying is sooner dead than sooner red. And that's the way I live by. But then I graduated from Oklahoma State, went to Arlington, Texas for 1 year, was a junior high school teacher coach.
Okay.
Found out very quickly that I needed somebody with longer than a 30-second attention span to speak to teach, to learn. As you can tell, I like to talk. So they need to be able to listen. And then I went to Wichita State as a graduate assistant track coach for 1 year. Then I was at Dodge City Community College as the head track and field and cross country coach for 6 years. And usually people groan, in this area, and Kansas City groan that I had to spend 6 years out there. It wasn't so bad. I met my wife. So that was a good positive thing. And then taking that job allowed me to get the job here at Johnson County. So now I've been in Kansas for almost 18 years. I was only in Oklahoma for 12. So am I an Okie or am I a Kansan? Because I've spent more time in Kansas. My parents still live in Stillwater, so that's kind of a interesting dilemma that I have. That am I a Kansan?
Why not both?
Good question. You'll have to choose. Well, you go to Texas. There's bumper stickers. Born in Oklahoma, but Texan by the grace of God. Or born in Texas and Texas by the grace of God, because they love themselves down in Texas. So I was actually born in New York City, in New York, Mount Kisco, New York. So 9 years in New York, 4 years in Columbia, Missouri, and then 12 years in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and then the rest, as I already described it. So I'm kind of a mutt. So the longest state I've ever lived in is Kansas. But I'll always be a cowboy, but I think I'm kind of a Kansan now.
Well, that's awesome.
Interesting.
Can actually kind of feel you there, man. But before you continue, we're going to take ourselves a little bit of break here because, well, there's so much more to ask, but so little time. All right. So y'all sit back, relax, and we'll be right back, after these messages from our wonderful sponsors. Things, kind of. And we are back. So, funny story. I wish you said this, maybe not during that wonderful commercial break, but, before we started the interview. So, I apologize, everyone. It's Joe Weiss, not Wise. So, is there like a story behind that at all? Or,
Yes, there is a story. The last name, Weiss, is German, and it used to have a second S on it. And in Germany, they pronounce it Weiss, and I believe
so can I call you Joe Weiss?
Joe, you may.
Yes!
My name is extremely interesting because I'm Richard Joseph Weiss Jr., but I go by Joe. So the first day of every class in school or every doctor's visit is always Richard Weiss, and I would raise my hand and say Joe Weiss, and the instructor would look at the paper and look at me and wonder how in the world you get Joe Weiss out of Richard Weiss. Well, the last name during the Second World War, my family was living in the United States. My great-grandfather came into the home after they found out what Hitler had done, and they were speaking German in the home, and he said, no more German will be spoken in this home. They dropped the second S and started pronouncing the name Weiss instead of Weiss. So the correct pronunciation, American pronunciation, would be Weiss, but we pronounce it Weiss. And I believe it was kind of to disavow some of that German heritage, to separate the family from that after the Second World War.
Funny story. Same on my dad's side.
Okay.
But we still go ahead, but still. Yep, but true, yep. They were German.
Okay.
Stories for another time. Because
All
it's
right.
not my interview, it's all about you today. So you said you've been, we're going to go back a little bit here because it's just interesting.
Good.
Mr. Weiss. You track all the years, let's face it, it's getting warmer out there. Pool's coming up. Everybody wants to get in shape.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for all listeners out there if really maybe they can work on the running form or how they can really, maybe lose a couple pounds, get the cardio up? I mean, that was your life till 23.
The running in the HPER department, we are set up for the average, normal, everyday person.
Okay.
When you come into the fitness center, we are set up for everyone to be able to use the equipment in there. When I was running and trying to be an elite level athlete, and you saw the picture that I was 3% body fat. Lots of
bacon
people,
way too much for that.
Lots of people would have said that I weighed too little for the normal, average, everyday person. Mm-hmm. But whenever you get very, very specific in one area, there are other areas that are not going to be as well taken care of or correct for society. So in my learning to be the HPER director, I've got to step back from that wanting to be elite in an area and think more towards the majority of people. So running 70 miles a week and trying to only maintain a...
Are you Kenyan?
I was not Kenyan, and that's... my talent was limited. And the older I get, the more I realize I got a lot out of it. I didn't get everything out of the talent that I had, but I got a lot out of the talent I had. I had to work at it, and there's people that walk around that are just naturally skinny. I am not one of those people. If I look at food, I gain weight. So I really, really, really have to be cognizant about the things I'm eating, especially if I'm trying to be at such a low percentage of body weight. Because when you're running distance, all you need is a heart, lungs. You need something to pump the blood, and you need something to get the blood, the oxygen, and then all you need is the mechanics of the movement. So if we're speaking about the people that come into the fitness center that aren't looking for an elite in a certain area, there is no magic formula. The whole idea and the things, I ballooned up to 237 pounds, and I came up with the philosophy, and it's very simple. But it's work. Just like you said, you love bacon. So
true.
If you eat a pound of bacon a week,
don't tempt me, Joe.
Cut it back to half a pound. So the whole philosophy is eat less, move more.
What about whole Chateau milk?
Chateau milk? I'm not familiar with.
It is the greatest thing on the planet. It's flavored milk. They have root beer milk. It tastes like a root beer float. I admit it's a weakness. It's a weakness.
Moderation. If you're drinking a gallon a week, drink a half a gallon a week. Just be moderate in what you do. However many calories you bring into your body, you need to expend that many calories in order to maintain your weight. If you bring in less calories, expend more calories, you'll lose weight. If you expend less calories, bring in more calories, you'll gain weight. So each person, part of my philosophy as the director, is each person needs to come up with a plan that works for them. A Weight Watchers plan works for me. A slim plan or another diet plan can work for somebody else. And we in this country have come up with diet as being a negative word. And diet is actually whatever you eat is your diet. So going on a specific diet and cutting out all of something, like all meats or all grains, if you can sustain that for a lifetime, great. But most of us, we call it the yo-yo, we'll do it for a while and we'll be great for a while. Then we get back on whatever we cut out and then we gain the weight back. Each individual needs to find a plan, a diet plan, and a workout plan or a movement plan that works for them. There are some people who are morning people. There's other people who are night people. I've seen a couple of people on campus having desks that you stand up at now instead of sitting down, trying to get away from that sedentary sitting all day working style. So even if you're standing, you're just burning a couple more calories an hour rather than sitting all day long. And there's just minor adjustments like that. Dr. Carlson, a long time ago, said on this campus, we don't have a parking problem. We have a walking problem. If you park the furthest point away from the classroom you're going to on purpose and walk all the way there, it could be a half mile on this campus. You've burned all of those calories. But what do? We hawk the closest possible parking space so we don't have to walk.
That is so true.
I understand that with bad weather, but when the weather is nice, there's no need for that. You can walk. Everybody can walk. It's just a matter of making some changes, burning more taking in less calories, burning more calories.
We actually did a whole video on that.
Okay.
And I actually timed it personally myself because I had to know. I parked all the way near section past ATB, past field, almost like near like the whole train station right over there.
The softball field is the furthest point.
Parked over there. From leaving my car to getting in this room took me 6 minutes.
Yes.
Just walking. On my phone, check my Facebook. It's really not that bad.
If the weather is nice, it's not bad at all. You just have to bundle up if it's cold or
cold.
the rain's the worst when you get wet.
Rain, I don't mind because it's still warm. But cold, you walk out, it's just like I'm getting punched in the face by Mother Nature.
You need to get a hoodie or a hood on your coat. Bundle up.
Brilliant. Have coat, go to Wichita, get wife, go back to being 5 years old to learn how to run. Got it.
Found the wife in Dodge City.
Dodge City.
Dodge City.
Scratch
that.
Dodge City.
Again, just like the nutrition and movement plan, mine worked for me. You have to find yours. Yours may not be in Dodge City. It might be somewhere else.
Scratch all three, eat bacon, and cry.
But looking at you, you obviously don't eat too much bacon. You have moderation.
That is very true. I just love talking about bacon.
Do you go to Bacon Fest each year?
I have never been.
Then you're not,
I'm
you're
always
not a
working.
true
Yeah.
lover of bacon if you don't make the time to go to Bacon Fest.
It's a complicated relationship.
Okay.
Shoot. Well, on that note right there, we're actually running a little low on time. But hey, Mr. Joe Vise,
Yes, sir.
thanks for coming on to the station.
Thank you for having me.
And by all means, I'll be at the fitness center. We're going to run by you again. And maybe, just maybe, I have to bring you on back here. Have more stories.
That would be good.
All right. And thank you, sir.
Thank you.